Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Friday night pro-ish football talk, where we talk about the XFL. Is it pro? Yeah, technically. Is it like the NFL caliber? Not likely. So we call it pro-ish. Thanks to my great co-host Woopah Troopah for coming up to that name. How are you tonight, my friend Woopah?
I'm doing well.
Good, good, good. Man, having another Friday evening come together. I've been doing Friday night uh, pro football since probably the end of December. We started with the NFL, finished up with the playoffs. Now we're keeping it going with the Spring Football League, the XFL. There is the USFL coming up after that, but who knows what's going to happen or what's going on. But, we're choosing to cover the XFL because the good old Woopah Trooper is actually a season ticket holder of the league.
Heck yeah.
And you finally actually got to attend some games, didn't you?
Yeah, I had their second one this last week. It was interesting. It
Well,
was fun in many ways and not fun in some ways, but I'm
uh,
sure we'll get to that.
yes, we'll definitely talk about that. Kind of see what'll be interesting, and if I can remember, make sure to ask you because we'll wait till that game, you know, then kind of see what you think of how the game day experience was this year compared to 2020. Before we all know what happened. So, but hey, we're gonna look at the XFL. We're going to see where things stand. We're going to take a look. We're going to talk football. If you have questions or comments, be sure to put them in the chat. We love comments and questions and stuff like that. So we are here to have fun with you guys. You guys are here to be entertained. So we're going to try to do our best at doing that, and whatever we can do. But before I go too far, go too much longer, and I got to do my normal spills. So, well, no, not that. I want to put up the nice little reminder that will scroll at the bottom of your screen. Wait a second. Banners. There you go. Banners. You'd think I know StreamYards by now, but hey, thank you for your support. Have fun while you're here. Leave a like and subscribe when you're on the YouTube side. We're at 184. We got another sub today and only 16 till
Woohoo.
200. Yeah,
Heck yeah.
it's like we hit 150. Now we're almost at 200. It's kind of amazing. And we are at 76 on the Twitch side. So, hey, make sure you follow us there too. And, let's just have some fun and let's go to the channel. And, I was working with on my April calendar. Oh, man, I've got some big stuff coming up next month and some other things that are working. So, going to be busy. Going to be busy. We'll have to,
Busy banana.
exactly, busy banana. And not stuck in a tailpipe like one of our chat members had said on previous streams. So, well, there we go. Don't forget that Whoop and I are also covering the NCAA tournament, the March Madness that's going on. Where we'll be at the Elite Eight after tonight. Um, right now, watching the game, Miami and Houston are on. Miami's up by 2. Alabama's trailing at the half, believe it or not. So,
Oh, wow.
yep, by 5. So we'll see what happens, see what the night goes, see if there are any upsets tonight. Princeton's still alive, so we'll see what happens. So, and for that, join us on Monday nights, where we will talk about uh, this weekend's action. We'll look forward to the Final Four. So that's Monday night at 7. So, all right. Well, on that note, let us jump into the XFL action from this week. And for that, my buddy Woopah is going to bring up his stellar and stunning graphics that he produces each week with his statistics and everything else that we use as we review the week that was. All right. And we'll bring it up here with Woopah. There we go. Take it away, my friend.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're good.
So our pro-ish football talk. Go straight into the week 5 results. The first thing we got is what I thought was going to be one of the more exciting games of the week ended up being a little weird. Um, it was the Houston Roughnecks versus the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Mhm.
Houston was undefeated at this point, um, but Seattle was on a 2-game winning streak and looking a lot better. And it just got a little interesting. Both of the quarterbacks, as you can see here, struggled. Brandon Silvers barely completed 50% of his passes, a touchdown, but a fumble and a last-second interception. Ben DiNucci, who usually throws a lot, I guess Seattle did have the lead for a good amount, but he had 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown, but 3 interceptions. It's a pretty rough game for him. You can kind of see the defenses here. Ajane, I don't know how you say it. Ajane Harris had 2 of the 3 interceptions from
Wow.
Danucci, a couple of which I know one of them came off of he got hit while he threw, so it just kind of ended up being a duck in the air.
Oh boy, yeah, those wounded ducks.
Yeah. Then Quinn, this is a cool name, Quinterio Cole. He had 10 tackles as a safety, so that's always pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, Ja'Cour Pearson is still very good as a wide receiver. He's the league leader at only 5 catches, but 82 yards. And overall, this game, I mean, the Houston Roughnecks had an attempt at a comeback and came pretty close, but in the end, there wasn't a lot of action. As you can see, a lot of mistakes by the offense in here. It was kind of a weird game, not what you expected from 2 teams that were pretty good coming into this.
Yeah, and one thing that's obvious is that the lack of rushing yards from running backs. Seattle has, and it's only four carries for 33 yards, but it just kind of stunning. Is like, really, we know Washington or DC's a team that forces the running ball, but they're about the only one, and even then, their rushing yardage, statistically wise, for individual and running backs isn't that good. But this seems like it'd be a fast game if they're not really running the ball that much, or if they're complete passes. But yeah, it's like you said, you got to thinking Houston was actually on a roll there for a while. Like you said, undefeated, top of the league, top of their division, but then with Seattle stunning them on the road or at home for Seattle. So
yeah, the offensive line for Houston made a lot of mistakes. That's part of why the rushing game. There was a couple plays where I think their starting running back is Max Borghi, and he had to, he was getting hit at, right when he touched the ball. There was a run he had that was crazy. It was he broke so many tackles, but it was only 1 yard just because he had to fight that much just get back to the line of scrimmage.
Wow.
So it's like, well, it's nice, and you can't blame the running back, but if the O-line's gonna let you get hit right away, he's never going to be able to establish much of a running game. And you can see with Brandon Silvers, the interception and a fumble, both on. The fumble was just he got strip sacked, and the interception was actually it was hit and bounced into like another defensive lineman's hands. So it's an interception, but it basically both the turnovers came from the O-line just letting pressure get to him. So.
Wow, that's bad. Let me say hello real quick to Mrs. Hey, Mrs. Always great to have you. And Stunning and Brave Megatron's here. Oi, hello.
Hey.
Back to you, Stunning. Thanks for being here. We got 5 people, so make sure you like and subscribe on the YouTube side and follow us over on Twitch. So, but this statistically, these games seem to be very common from week to week. Quarterbacks struggle to get over 50%. DiNucci was over 10 yards per completion, but just they're not NFL numbers. You don't see the 300-400 yard passing games. You don't see a running back running for 100 yards. It's really interesting to look at these statistically. It's like even after week 5, they're struggling to score points. The offenses are struggling to get to be like juggernauts or anything out high tempo up scoring, high scoring type stuff. They're really, you know, I'd hate to say pedestrian because in the games that I've seen, it's like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It's decent football, but it's just like I have not seen any big plays this year. Have you in the games that you've watched?
There's some big plays, but I think a lot of the surprise. There's been a lot of quarterbacks who've struggled. I think why this is surprising is that these two quarterbacks were the two that really hadn't. Ben DiNucci, I mean, he made a lot of turnovers. This is not his first three turnover game that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but he also, he leads the league in passing yards by a lot. You think his completion percentage is in the high 60s, so he's usually you don't see him having a subpar completion percentage and low passing yards. Usually,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, he's going to make some, he kind of gunslings it. He's going to get you 300 passing yards somewhere around there. Going to run the ball a fair amount, and he's going to get some turnovers as well, but get some positives. And Brandon Silvers has been similar, except he's really not had turnovers lately. So when you have these two quarterbacks who have been some of the few bright spots at the position, and they combine for these types of numbers, it's a little unexpected and kind of disappointing there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, this was a game that you had higher hopes for. You'd have more scoring, or it turned out to be a close game score wise, but still, ugh,
Yeah, it ended
not
up
not what you'd
being
expect.
close in the end, but
Mhm.
it was an ugly one for most of it.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, that's Houston and Seattle.
Yeah, so
What we
let's
have
get to
here.
the next
Oh,
game.
oh man.
So
Oh
this
man.
was
Well, forget what I said about the running backs till this game. Oh my goodness. And you witnessed this one, right?
oh yeah, this was
Okay. Before we take a look at the game, okay. You as a fan, how was the game day operations? I mean, is this exciting? Do they do things to get people excited? Is it really entertaining for what you spend your money on?
so I think the positive is really because there's some annoying things that I tweeted at the Battlehawks. I don't think they're going to listen to me, but I tried my best. Is they didn't have any rally towels this week, which is kind of like a mainstay. Uh, and the last time they had a rally towel for the home opener, they were kind of lackluster. I know it's just a little thing, but it's kind of I think it's something they're cheaping out on a bit.
Yeah.
But
Which then
overall,
makes you wonder about the health of the league if
yeah,
they're getting cheap already.
it is a little
Yeah.
concerning. I know that I really enjoy the games. I think even though, like, I'll tell you right now, the two games I've went to haven't been the most exciting. Um, I'm still enjoying them. I think a lot of it is price. I paid $50 a ticket for my season tickets, and I got really good seats. If I was going to get those tickets for an NFL game, you'd be looking into hundreds, maybe 200s per ticket.
Is that per
So
game?
yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
so all together, I mean, while I think it's definitely not as good as like a professional game or like a professional NFL game, and I would say it's not as good as 2020 was personally.
I was going to
But
ask you how could you compare it to 2020, and was it better or worse?
I would say that 2020 was better. I think that team at the time had more money. I think the players were in general better. Um, there was a lot of good football, and still has some good football, but less than it used to. Before, I mean, in 2020, there were still uh, stinkers of a game, but most of the time, it's like, oh, this is a really good team. And even when home opener, the Battlehawks blew out our team, it wasn't even close, but
Mm-hmm.
they kicked butt. You could tell, wow, this is a really good team. They're just playing really well.
Well, you mentioned one thing about the talent was because I'm starting to wonder, uh, and we may have to look into this further to see what connections the leagues may have with NFL. But is it possible that the talent may not be as good with now we got the USFL that's about to start up in the spring? So now in 2020, there was only one spring league. Now there's going to be two spring leagues.
I think that has a lot to do with it, and I think it's frustrating personally because, well, besides the fact that St. Louis team is here, it's also just if you look at the business models, I think XFL has a much better business model. But the USFL owner is like a billionaire. He's got plenty of time to, he can absorb a lot of losses. His league's not going away anytime soon, even if they keep losing money. But I think when you're looking at the player pool, XFL has a lot of players who played in the USFL last year. So I think the XFL is still number one in terms of where to go for spring talent, but it's not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see – I think if you combine the two leagues, not that that will happen probably, but if it did happen, I think you'd see overall a better product. And I think it's suffering a bit because of that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with the USFL. I guess last year they played everything in Birmingham, but this year they're going to play it in certain different other places around the country. But still, I think some of the teams, when they're home teams, will not be playing in the city they're named after. Go figure. But all right, with this game though, this was kind of an interesting game coming in. So take us through it, and let me say hello to Bucky's Crafting. Just lurking because I don't know what y'all talk about. I'm trying to get some crafting done, but hey, we love lurkers. We love hanging out. Thanks for being here. Just spending time with us like this. Throwing a comment in there. Make sure you hit the like button though. And if you haven't subbed, let's sub. We're at 184 tonight on the YouTube side. And also lurking will be the great, stunning, and brave Megatron, who's occasionally slaying some bots and trolls. So if they come through. So, let's see. Bucky's also, I think y'all need to find some kind of professional foosball to commentate on. It would probably be in Hong Kong. And thank you for the like. Thank you for the like. Yeah, we see. That's the thing is, with basketball that's on, it'd be nice to be able to sit here and kind of talk about it, what's going, without it, doing necessarily play by play. But I've heard of people getting in trouble for that, and then other times it's done. I don't know what all those rules are, but that would be neat to kind of do, is to sit there, watch a game, and just say what you see. Not doing a play-by-play description, but just reacting to what you see.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fun like that, but yeah, the rules can be a little bit iffy there
or inconsistent, kind of like the officials in a lot of games. I think you're going to talk to us about in a little bit, right?
What was that? Sorry.
Kind of like the officials in sports that are inconsistent all over the place. And I think you're going to talk about that a little bit later, aren't you?
Yeah, I might be. I don't know what tips you off for that one. But yeah,
go ahead and walk us through this game.
So this was the second meeting.
Well, first, what did you expect? Let me ask you this quick. What did you expect? This was the second meeting. It was in front of you at home. What did you expect? What kind of game did you expect? And then what did you get?
I I expected a high-scoring game. I expected a lot of tension because the last time we met up earlier this season, they're the only team we've lost to now. We lost them twice, but there was a lot of chirping back and forth. Things started off a little interesting too. Some of their players were hanging around a little too close to the where the tunnel where our guys came out. Some guys were setting up real close to them, like I expected a high offense game, and even though it was 28-20, I would say this wasn't as big of an offensive game as you might expect based on the score line. It wasn't super fun. I mean, I say it wasn't super fun. I enjoyed it. Like this weird scenario of even if the game wasn't great, the experience is fun. Since I do really enjoy the XFL, but it was kind of a weird game. I'm hoping that future games are a little bit more exciting.
Gotcha.
But so the interesting thing, first of all, I didn't put Adrian McCarron on here just because I didn't find a good place to put him. He's been pedestrian as of late, kind of. But if Jordan Teamo here, you see, look, we shut him down 12 of 18, 90 yards, and only 23 yards on 8 carries.
Wow.
And De'Aaron King didn't do much of note either. I think he got a rushing touchdown, but like most of the game didn't do much.
Mm-hmm.
Big news here was Abram Smith, and this is the thing too. This is why I think some of the stats can be misleading if you didn't watch the game. Is that even Abram Smith's stats, while in the end were great, like it wasn't like he did this all the time. Essentially, he had a 70-yard run and a 62-yard run. That made up for over 2/3 of his yardage.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was good plays by him, good blocking, and bad defense on the Battlehawks part. But if you take out those 2 carries, you're looking at about 21 carries for 60 yards, which is not exactly kicking our butt. It's just he had these big plays, and those plays make his stat line look great. Which, again, is to his credit, but it just says different kind of play overall. It wasn't like he was gashing us every time for big runs. Overall, the Battlehawks just they just struggled. A.J. McCarron did not look his best overall. He did have some moments, but I'm sure I'll get into it later. He had a pass to, I think it was Steven Mitchell. I forget, but it was behind. It was a throw behind him, but an excellent catch. I wish I could bring it up, but he threw it behind him, and the wide receiver reached behind him and grabbed it with one arm and brought it down. It was epic. Everyone was freaking out in the stadium. Because wow, what a catch! And then, I don't think we converted. Maybe we did convert that one, but it was a very good play. Yeah. And then you had, later on. This is in our kind of our comeback because we scored that, and we got a big stop on defense, and I think 2 tackles for loss, 3 and out. Well, the team had an incredible punt. I didn't put DC's punter, but he was amazing once again. He's the best punter in the league. He actually pinned us on the 9 or the 10-yard line, and then they got a penalty for illegal formation, so they got moved back 5 yards, and we restarted. And so he cooked it again, and that time he got to the 7-yard line. We're like, dang it. Because, it was just a really good job of flipping the field. But we were starting to get on a roll. Everything was good. And then – oh, wait, no, that wasn't the – I'm sorry. That was part of it. Before the comeback, what actually put us at 20 points is A.J. McCarron threw a 50-yard dime for a touchdown. And when I say 50 yards, I think he threw it about 40, 45 of those. So it was a huge play.
It was a legitimate downfield pass, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, man, we haven't seen that all game. It was a beautiful throw right on target. Beautiful route, too. The wide receiver fooled the defense really good, did enough to just get right behind him. And then so we were up by 20. We got the stop and started back. We were on a roll. And then I jokingly say, but maybe not jokingly, I think A.J. McCarron just wanted to go home. He didn't want overtime, so he just lofted up a terrible pass to a guy who he wasn't open, and easy interception for DC. It was a very frustrating way for that game to end.
Yeah.
And overall, I do think A.J. McCarron just didn't. He was throwing a lot of passes behind people. Like we got lucky with that one touchdown that our wide receiver was able to make a great one-handed catch. A lot of passes were behind people. That ending play, it was just not great. So I'm hoping A.J. McCarron stops that next game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The big highlights was for Battlehawks was Brian Hill. He's continuing to be, I'd say he's the best running back in the game, I think, in the league. I think he's second in pretty much every stat except for touchdowns for running backs, even though he's missed one of the games with an injury. But 79 carries for 14 yards, got 3 catches for 29 more. He's very good. Like you can tell when he runs the ball, he's making people miss all around, breaking tackles. He's really good. And I think this is the second time in a row I've put him on here, Darius Shepard, maybe a third time. I've
noticed that name, yeah.
He is a dangerous kick return. Only 3 kick returns in this one. Had a 155 total return yards, so averaging 50 yards a return. He had an 80-yard longest return, which put him us inside the red zone, and he had another one that went down to like the 30-yard line. He was incredible.
Now remind us the kickoff, because it's the kickoff. Is it from the 30-yard line or the 25? But then the return team is only 10 yards away from the kicker.
Only 5 yards away from the
5 yards. So where does the team kick off from?
I think it's the 30.
Okay.
I think that the two teams line up on the 30 and 35. I'd have to double check. I know it's similar to that.
But still, it shows you. I mean, the opportunity is there for good return yardage, and it's definitely a different system. But okay. I just wanted to make sure we all knew that. Okay.
Yeah, and so he's been one of the few guys. Not a lot of big returns, but Darius Shepard has like 3-4 of them now. He's been excellent, and this is, again, the frustrating thing with the Battlehawks is that 80-yard return that he had that put us inside the red zone ended with a field goal because our offense just couldn't get anything going at all. And I think that's why, in the end, I'm sure we'll get to it with the refs. The refs kind of screwed us over, but I wouldn't say they cost us the game because we just made too many mistakes on our own.
Right.
That's like, well, that's on us.
Yep.
But Darius Shepard was one of the highlights of the game. Every kick return, I feel like, oh yeah, you better get up out of your seat because you don't know how long. This one's going to be a good play. But overall, I guess the frustrating thing is we had a good running back performance, but he couldn't really finish the game. He can't do it all on his own. And Hakeem Butler had another good game, but a lot of short yardage plays. He did a good job on, but he's not a deep threat. He's a big guy. He's more a red zone target, not a deep ball guy. And I think it's the frustrating thing why I say it's like it wasn't as good as maybe the score would imply is that, you look at Abram Smith, and that's mostly 2 big plays. A.J. McCarron was not super special. Jordan Teamo, you see his stats were not good. There wasn't a lot of actually sustained offense. It was – 70-yard DC touchdown, 62-yard DC touchdown. DC gets a touchdown, in a game they started that drive in their own red zone. We had a 50-yard touchdown pass. It was a lot of just, hey, here's this big play that happened. But for the rest of the time, you're looking at kind of stagnant offenses. It was not as exciting as I hoped it would be.
I gotcha. That's definitely understandable. So, games will do that.
Yeah. So I'm hoping it'll be better. We have now dropped 2 to DC when we played twice a year, so we're done playing them. But I say you look on the bright side, that means we've got a lot of worse teams that we can beat up on, I'd say. So,
hey, cannon fodder.
Yeah, because we still have our 1 game against the Guardians and 2 games against Vegas. So hopefully that's 3 wins right there, which will hopefully get us into the playoffs. But we'll see. Here, I guess I can start complaining about the refs now.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, they got honorary mention on the slide, so go ahead.
Yeah, they made, and again, I don't blame them for the loss. We did it to ourselves, but it certainly didn't help, and it leaves a sour taste. There were so many calls that were very questionable, or no calls that were very questionable. There was one play where we got an offensive pass interference in the end zone, and in the end, was there some contact? Yes, but it was very soft. Like it wasn't. It's stuff that happens on a lot of plays, but that was the only time it was called was when it was on us. Meanwhile, we had a guy who got contact before the ball came. I don't think that should have been a pass interference, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, well, if you're calling a pass interference on that, you should call a pass interference on this. And then as he's on the ground, one of the DC players shoves his head into the turf, and they don't call a penalty. It's like, what? Did you not see that? Like, that's definitely illegal. He's doesn't have the ball. He's just shoving his face into the turf. They played it on the big screen right up there, and you're like, you can see it.
It's just a love tap. That's all. But yeah.
But there was
And sometimes that happens. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, as one that has officiated some sports before, sometimes it just um, you do the best you can with what you see in real time. But there's even still, sometimes you're almost like, did I just see that?
Mhm.
And I think sometimes that can happen and catch you off guard to where, and then by the time you think they'll blow the whistle, then it doesn't. Yeah, it is too late. So you kind of, it's an instinctual thing, and yeah, it's kind of like that late whistle that infuriates everybody. You
Mhm.
also don't want to just call a late whistle all the time. Be late because everybody's moved on or done whatever they've done. You need to, if you're gonna make the call, you need to make it up front. But I got you. Some of those cases, it's like, how did you miss that? Especially if it's sitting right in front of them.
Yeah, and I know another call was they called us for holding on defense once, and I can tell you I don't know if we held. I
Mhm.
didn't see that part of the play.
Yeah,
Um, but what was just frustrating about it was as I'm watching the quarterback directly in my line of sight, you see their offensive line holding one of our guys who, if he didn't get held, would have had a clear shot to the quarterback. And it's like, well, at the very least, that should be offsetting penalties. I'm staring there, like,
absolutely.
I see that. He's right there. That's the crucial hold.
Yeah.
And after they call holding on us, that's first down for them. It's
Yep.
like, oh, you got to be kidding me. There's so many calls like that kind of deflated the
Yep.
crowd, I'd say. And we chanted a lot of mean things to the refs.
Yeah.
Uh,
It just, there's stuff we chanted back in college that would not be allowed today. So, and I'll
yeah.
just leave it there. Yeah. So, hey, by the way, we've got 8 people watching us right now. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us
Nice.
on a Friday night. And
Woohoo.
if you're lurking, love lurkers. We got a lot of lurkers, people that came in and said hi, and they're lurking now. So hey, keep lurking. But feel free, either follow us on the Twitch side and like and subscribe here on the YouTube side. But if you've got questions about football, if it's something general, we'll try to answer it. If it's XFL specific, well, we'll do what we can. But chat with us and leave some comments and likes and comments or questions here in the chat with us, and we'll talk with you. Love it. All right, sorry, Woopah, just wanted to see that. So do we have
Yeah,
much
no
more
problem.
than the bad officiating on this game?
No, I've pretty much covered it all. Obviously, this was the big one I watched. So
Well, I will say this: you were so nice and polite and well reserved for dealing with officials that hosed you. So you have
yeah,
my
it
respect.
was. I've had some time to calm down, but also, like I said, I think it helped in the end. That's like, well, because we have those games, where you're like, oh, if that one call goes differently, who knows how that game goes. With this game, it was
Hmm.
kind of like, well, there were so many, we made so many mistakes. It's hard to blame a call or two on us losing when we were, we hurt ourselves in the end as well. So,
Yeah.
but
Okay. I got you. Well, we have a 5-0. DC goes at 5-0, and the Battlehawks fall to 3-2, which leads us now to the sucky game of the week. Everybody thought the two winless teams, the Orlando and the Arizona Vipers. So
no, Orlando Guardians and Vegas
Guardians.
Vipers.
I still don't get that as a gargoyle. That's what's so crazy. I keep wanting to call them Panthers. Panthers is what I want to think. I think of Carolina Panthers when I see that logo.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, this one was kind of like you said, the surprising the matchup, the winless teams actually turned out score wise to be one of the better games of the week. You look at
Yeah.
the statistics of both teams. Quentin Dormady for Orlando, 22-25, 246 yards, over 10 yards of completion, 2 touchdowns. And for Arizona, Luis Perez, 20-28, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns. And what do you
Yeah.
not see there, Woopa?
Running backs.
Well, no. You don't see the interceptions.
Oh yeah, there was only one fumble in this game. That was the only
Yeah,
turnover.
yeah. And I tell you that look at this. You got very good quarterback play. One is about 75%. The other one is almost 90%.
Mm-hmm.
88% at 22-25. No turnovers, no fumbles, no interceptions from either quarterback. And look at the score, because that a lot of times the key to better football games and more points in the games it is the quarterback play, And if you spend your time turning the ball over all the time, then it does hold back, affects the flow of the game and just makes it more of a slugfest. So that's what I noticed. But do you want to fill us in with the wide receiver? Go ahead and finish. I just kind of got carried away on that part, but sorry. Figured
No,
you
no
might want to
problem.
break.
Yeah, so these were both 0-4 going into this. Vegas walks away with the win. Um, kind of to follow up with you said, what people said, like someone I was watching who recaps every week was saying this is pretty good for the league because, I mean, he said, this is something he said, and I know something we both said is like, we'll expect this game to be bad, but it was interesting. Having a league where even your worst teams can make a fun game is always very positive,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you only have 4 games a week.
Yep.
What I'd say this kind of shows is that both these teams have awful defenses because there were a lot of plays where it's not all roses and such. A lot of it was, man, these defenses are just leaving people wide open, but still I think it was a good, the offenses. If you have a bad defense and a bad offense, it's still going to be a bad game. But they had bad defenses with good offense. I think that can always be very exciting. Plenty of
Mm-hmm.
NFL games are like that. How many times, I remember Kansas City, Buffalo, where it was, I think there was 1 punt in the entire game or something like that.
Yep.
Those are exciting games to watch. And you had Cody Latimer on the other side. He's been the main guy, but hasn't had a huge game. Well, here he has 124 yards on 8 catches, the touchdown. And on the other side, Jeff Badditt, I think. I always want to say Bidet, but it's not.
I
But
kept thinking the same thing before.
I think he has 5 touchdowns on the year. He's been a big part of the Vipers. 5 catches, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns here. So some good play overall. Running backs didn't get a lot of work just because, well, look at these quarterback stats and look at the score. Everyone's always,
Right.
there was never anyone comfortable enough that they could run out the clock. You had to keep going.
Well, welcome over on the Twitch side, Bucky Cord.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Yeah. I said the YouTube app was being funky. I understand that. But hey, welcome. You're still here lurking. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, looking at the stats, I could tell right off that quarterback play, the receivers are catching the ball downfield. I mean, it just looks like a normal game.
Yeah, it was. I didn't watch this game because I didn't expect it, but I watched some highlights and it's like, wow, this was fun. I wish I did watch this game. I didn't expect this. And yeah, so I think that's good. And I think it shows that Vegas has statistically does have the worst defense in the league. So that's not too surprising, but it shows that look, they've got talented players, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that they can make stuff happen. And the Guardians are interesting because Paxton Lynch was their starting QB, and he did start this game, but got benched even though he didn't have any turnovers. Maybe he lost a fumble, but he wasn't doing bad. But put in Quinn Dormady, and he did excellent, coming just short of the win there. But
88% completion too. So
yeah, everything just looked a lot better, and I think it's exciting. Maybe these teams aren't as, the defense is pretty rough, but maybe these teams aren't as lost as we all thought they were.
Well,
Though interesting to see. I didn't highlight much of the defense because, obviously they didn't do great. The linebacker, Pita Tamoipanu, I think, 3 sacks, which is crazy. And defensive tackle for the Guardians had 11 tackles. You'll have some defensive tackles. That's half of their season's tackles, right there. So I thought
usually your
crazy.
tackles aren't getting a lot of the tackles. They're actually eating up space, trying to clear ways for the linebackers or the ends to make the tackles. So, but yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. That's impressive right there.
Show some love to the tackles.
But absolutely. Yeah, overall a fun game.
All righty. That's cool. That definitely sounds. Oh man, that definitely sounds much better than what I just looked at right now.
Yeah, I'd say go from that to this. It's a little bit of a palate cleanser, and then I guess
Oh
but
my
the other way
goodness.
around.
Yeah.
This game was ugly, and I guess like not too unexpected, uh, because Arlington's had a bad offense the whole year, and uh, San Antonio's been up and down, but a lot more down than up lately. Um, they did finally try out a different quarterback with Reed Sinnett over. I think they started Jack Cohn, put in Reed Sinnett, and then took him out later. I'll get to that shortly, but neither of them did particularly well. You can see Jack Cohn is awful, 2 interceptions,
Mm-hmm.
and Reed Sinnett at least got a touchdown, but didn't do much else after that.
Yeah. And still 13 completions, only 97 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I hold that against the quarterbacks, period. Let me say hello real quick to Maddie's daddy. Hey, Steve. Hell, and you're
Hello.
driving. Thanks for hanging out with us while you're driving. Uh, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And hell, back to you. Hopefully, you have a great Friday evening, and the little one is doing wonderful. Well, yeah, it's got the cutest baby on YouTube. So, all right. So, yeah, like you said, that's one thing with these games. I crunch numbers like Slaughter, 10 yards of completion, barely 50%, but Reed Senate below,
Interception, no
yeah,
touchdowns.
yeah, and Reed Senate below 50%, well under 10 yards of completion. And then it has a touchdown and an interception. Those are just not good quarterback numbers, and especially Cone, 6 yards of completion, 2 picks. It's just you can definitely see the contrast between this game and the last game based on the quarterback statistics. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I tell people that you can make nerddom or geekdom, whatever, out of sports, because when you start looking at statistics and trying to make trends, you can really geek out or nerd out or whatever you want to call it, really easily.
Yeah, and you look at, I mean, no one really shined this game because I think the leading rusher in this game was the leading total yard getter outside of quarterback was Devion Smith, the running back for Arlington. He had 44 rush yards, 6 reception yards, so 50 yards total, but that was on 19 carries and 1 catch. So 20
Barely
touches
over,
to get 50
yeah,
yards is not great.
barely over 2 yards a carry on those running
Yeah.
rushes.
So it's just he's not getting much of anywhere.
Yeah.
And
because really, for people to, a lot of it is at least 3, but generally you want a running back at 4 yards a carry, because then that means you get 2 runs, or you got a 3rd and 2, or you run another play. You could theoretically get first downs, keep moving the chains. If you're average, shoot for that goal as an average. So,
yep, 4 yards is always the barrier. I always feel like if you get a rush, it's like 4 yards is 4+ is ideal. I always think if you get a rush that's 4 yards, you're like, okay, that's good. If you get a rush that's 3 yards, you're like, it's okay. It's not the worst thing. You can definitely work with it, but I think you feel more comfortable if you're the defense and give up a 3-yard rush than if you're the offense and give up a 3-yard rush, and get a 3-yard rush. Yeah. And a 2-yard is like, oh crap.
Yep.
But
absolutely,
I think the question about this and what I don't understand is, and this is another problem with, I think the XFL needs to fix this, is with injury updates, because they are not updating with injuries, and I have no idea what's going on sometimes. Jack Cohn came in, played little, just look at his stat line, it was awful. He threw an interception. He was having bad completion. They benched him for Reed Sinnett, who led a touchdown drive. And you're like, hey, this guy's doing pretty well. Then I think he had the interception. Let me double check. Sorry. I got to look this up because I forget the sequencing of this event.
well, that's okay. While you're looking at it, I just want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. We got 7 people still with us right now on both the YouTube and the Twitch side. And thank you for your support. Hit that like button on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch and subscribe on the YouTube side. Make sure you hit the bell to get the notifications when we go live. So, I do like these talked about the logos. The San Antonio, the Brahmas, that's kind of cool. Not sure that I like the Arlington mascot,
Well,
but
I would say I like this logo that I used. I purposely used the old 2020 XFL logo because the current 2023 one is just an R. It's just like, okay, who cares?
I remember. Okay, I
So
remember that now.
I maybe a little bit of editing on my part. I used the cooler logo.
No, that's okay. Go with what looks good. It's all visual. Let me say this. Bucky Corn says, my brain is like 4 yards. That's nothing. But I'm trying to remember that 4 yards of yarn is nothing. That's what I'm working with right now. 4 yards of fabric is quite a bit of fabric. Context. Yes, absolutely. You're right. The missus goes all the time buying yarn, fabric. And I'm going to pitch her. I'll pitch her out right now because she's looking at starting to stream finally. And who knows? That might be some of the stuff she talks about. So.
Well, I'd say here, let's put this analogy that Bucky will understand. If you were right next to your daughter and she grabbed your yarn and started running, would you be able to, don't you think you'd be able to stop her before she got 4 yards, or like grab the yarn before she got 4 yards? So that's what I think of with a running back. A 4 yard run, you got to grab the yarn and run 4 yards before your parents, aka the defense, stops you. There you go. Yeah. Boom. Excellent expert analogy from Woopah Troopah.
There you go. Hey. Yes, you've watched your little brothers and sisters a little bit, haven't you? So let me say hello to Yemi. Yemi, good to have you tonight. Evening, not a huge sports fan, but we'll give it a shot. All right. Well, make sure you stay with us tonight. And then, of course, on March Madness on Monday. Speaking of last night, Kansas State won to advance. Who else? Tennessee got beat. I could not believe Tennessee got beat by Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic continues on the roll. And I'm drawing a blank on the other two. Maybe you'll help me.
Gonzaga beat UCLA.
Yes, just talk about destroying our Final Four predictions.
Yeah, and UConn kicked butt. They were the only.
Yeah, that was.
I tell you, they're the only team that's comfortably won every game so far. All other 3 games were back and forth.
And UConn was a team that you were picking on to really get hot. So so stay with us, Yemi. And right now, on a 12-0 run, San Diego State has pulled ahead of Alabama by 3. Late in the game in the second half, and Miami is up 6 over Houston at halftime. So,
oh wow!
I feel you don't understand how fast a 4-year-old with something she shouldn't have can run. Maybe she shouldn't. Maybe she should be exactly train them young. Maybe. Yes, exactly. Quick, run them. Oh man, ours were fast when they were that age. You had to watch them or tie them down or whatever. So
I used to be
but
fast.
Yes, welcome everybody. I was never fast. I was stuck to the floor. So, I mean, that's my basketball career. Flat set shots. So,
yeah. So, and this is the problem. I don't understand necessarily what happened, but Sinnett threw the touchdown and then threw an interception, and then it seems like they benched him and put Cone back in. Now, I heard that maybe Reed Sinnett got hurt, but I thought they put him back in at some point, which is why I'm like, I don't understand what happened. Maybe they didn't, but it was just very odd. All of a sudden, Jack Cone's back in. You're like, why is he back in? Did they bench Sinnett? Because, again, Sinnett didn't have a great stat line. But look at Jack Cone's stat line. It seems pretty clear who the better quarterback is in the team. And so, I expect that Sinnett would get the start next week if he's healthy. I don't know if he did get hurt or I don't know what it is. But both these teams have a real QB problem on their hands because they've both tried Q2 quarterbacks and neither of them have been working well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, this game was not very good.
Yeah, you could tell. Just break it down by statistics, you knew it was going to be a bad game. So the standings after week 5, we still have DC leading in the North, the only undefeated team in the league. Obviously, 5 wins in a row, 3-0 on the road, 3-0 at home, 2-0 on the road, 5-0 within the division. So they've almost played their whole division schedule. Then it looks like. So,
yeah, and the important thing, I think division record is like the second tiebreaker. So they've pretty much. I mean, every other team's already lost 2 or more division games, so they're set. Unless they lose out, pretty much.
But even then, I don't think in the division anybody can pass them because, that's 5 of 6 games right there. So, they can't be caught. Yep.
Yeah, if there's a tie, I think they've got the advantage. So they're most likely in the playoffs already. So
well, I'll tell you what. Look what's changed. I mean, the Sea Dragons were kind of back there for a bit. Now they're tied up with the Blackhawk, the Battlehawks, the Battlehawks.
Be careful.
3 and
2 saying that.
Exactly. 3-2 in the overall, and it's interesting. Both with division records of 1 and 2. That could get interesting. Looking at that.
It could get interesting. The one reason the Battlehawks are still number 2, though, is the first tiebreaker is head-to-head, and the Battlehawks beat the Sea Dragons in Seattle already, so they got the away win.
That was my first XFL game watching. Yeah. Yeah.
So the next week will be, or the next matchup we'll have will be in the Battle Dome. Let's call it now because it doesn't have a sponsor anymore. But so it'll be interesting. That'll be a very crucial game because if Battlehawks win that, then they have control of the tiebreaker no matter what. So if it's if they win that, first of all, they're 1 win up, and then they have the tiebreaker, so that'll be huge. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I'll tell you, it kind of stinks being in the North because you're looking at the Sea Dragons. I'll tell you, if you take the top 4 teams in the league, I think you've got 3 of them in the North. I don't think we just looked at the Renegades. They did win, but they don't look good while winning.
Yeah, 12-10. Yeah, exactly. Not at all. So then, of course, the Vipers get their first win of the season over Orlando, and what was reviewed as the best game of the week at 35-32. And then Houston leads the South at 4-1 with Arlington right on their tails at 3-2, followed by San Antonio who's lost 3 games in a row at 1-4, and then the winless Orlando team. So basically, it's not out of the woods for Arlington to actually win the South. If they're only 1 game behind, they've only had to play 2 division games though. So. But it's starting to get put out of the reach because the Houston's 4-0. They only have 2 more division games. So, time's running.
They
there.
Should secure the.
But I tell you what, because the playoff, in the playoffs though, are the top 2 teams in the division. Looking at how bad San Antonio and Orlando are, it looks like Arlington, even though they can't score well, it's almost getting to the point of being guaranteed a playoff spot.
Yeah, it's kind of a little annoying because I don't think while they are close to Houston. First of all, Houston has the tiebreaker right now. They played them once and won. Houston beat San Antonio, and Arlington once and beat the Guardians twice. Those are all their wins. But you saw Arlington beat San Antonio already, so. That's their biggest competition right now. Orlando, it's not out of the question that they come back and make it, but that'd be pretty tough to do, especially because they just played their Vegas game, So
Yep, absolutely.
But if you're talking about, they've got the head-to-head over both the people below them. Well, no, I guess they haven't played. Arlington has not played Orlando yet, but they had played San Antonio and won. So it's anyone's guess how that goes. They've got the head-to-head as of now, so they're in the driver's seat for that second spot.
Yep, exactly. And the drama is going to be in the North. I think probably between the Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons. But there's still
Yeah,
5 games to remain. Things could change
there's
very
5
quickly.
games. I think the Vipers. I know the Vipers. They haven't played the Battlehawks yet, so they could win 2 there, and they're back in the running. I think they've played. Have they played Seattle twice already? Let me double check, because that'll determine some.
And folks in the chat, if you have questions about football, whether it's specific to the XFL or just football in general, or that you've ever wanted to ask, just chat out the question, and we'll see if we can address it, talk about it.
So
Research is method. Yeah.
They've played the Sea Dragons once and lost, obviously, but they have the head-to-heads left. If Vegas, keeps the offense going like they did last time, and win 2 of those games or 3 of those games, suddenly they're back in it. I think Orlando is a little bit worse off in that regard because they've already played Houston and Crew. And I think actually, let me double check this because I think I made a error in the schedule once. So they played Houston and lost, played San Antonio and lost, played Arlington and lost, and played Houston again and lost. So I think Arlington should have 2 division wins. So in that regard, Orlando does have 2 head-to-heads, 1 head-to-head each left with Arlington and San Antonio, but it's going to be harder for them to get the head-to-heads because at best they can tie up, and I don't think it's going to be enough for them. Vegas is still in it with the 3 head-to-heads versus the 2 guys who are in second, so it's possible.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's where we sit. That's where we sit currently. Still some drama left. So, all right, looking ahead to next week. What do we got?
So here's the Week 6 preview. This one's one of the Saturday games. Sea Dragons are at Orlando.
Well, I could drive down there. I wonder how much the tickets cost.
The 0-5 team, I can't imagine that much.
No.
But I was going to say kind of the keys to the game is the fact that Orlando Guardians, as we saw, don't have a great defense. Over 200 passing yards allowed per game, which in the NFL would be pretty good. In the XFL, not good at all. Meanwhile, Seattle has 262.4 passing yards per game offensively, which is 25 more than anyone else in the league. Ben DiNucci has 1,328 passing yards, 66.3 completion percentage. He's got 9 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, but you can see 7 interceptions and 5 fumbles. So he is a bit of a turnover machine. Even if he does get a lot of touchdowns and a lot of yards, he's prone to mistakes. I didn't put a Guardians QB here because I have no idea who their QB is going to be. We saw Quinn Dormandy do very well last week, but this was only his 2nd game that he's played in, and he was not great in the first one. So maybe they'll go back to Paxton Lynch has played in every game. He's gotten benched in almost every game too, which is weird, but they keep going back to him because he has been the best option for him. But maybe after this week, Dormandy bought himself a start. I don't know.
Maybe so. But hey, question. Why did the football coach go to the bank?
To get his quarterback.
Okay. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Google said that Jake would score me a touchdown with friends. Yes. Here we go.
Hooray for Google.
Yay. I thought said Duval for once, and I'm like, please, dear God, not that chant. I just.
Hey, at least you don't have to sing Rocky Top anymore.
I would sing Rocky Top. I don't mind Rocky Top compared to that Duval. It's like, shut the frick up, like what idiot came up with that? Anyway, it's everywhere. So, and hey, welcome to Theme Park Casual. Hey kids, back to you. You're the big kid, my friend, out there doing all that great theme park coverage and sharing some glorious food on Twitter. Wow, thank you, sir. glad you could make it by. Thanks for being here. So we've got 9 people actually watching us right here. Yep. Stop and say hi and drop a like. Thank you, sir, so much. Thank Park Casual for thinking of us, for retweeting when you do and stuff. I think you're going to be at Disneyland late tonight. So, streaming from there. So, y'all go check out Theme Park Casual. Give me a second. I'll try to put his link out there as long as I don't. I gotta be careful when I multitask that I don't blow things up. I don't end up killing the stream in different ways. But why don't you go ahead and finish our preview here, or move to the next one, whichever we have here, Woopah.
Yeah, so we've got, I was going to mention Ja'Cory Pearson versus Cody Latimer. Latimer just coming off that big game. He's been their number one passing target. And you have Ja'Cory Pearson, only 1 touchdown, but he leads the league in catches and receiving yards. He's been excellent for the Sea Dragons. Defensively, I get 3 linebackers. I think Tazar Skipper, I think he plays a little bit of defensive end, but they list him as a linebacker because only 11 tackles, but 4 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, and 3 forced fumbles. He's been a pretty lethal. And the Guardians have a pair of linebackers. I know they both are high up. I think top 10 at least in tackles in the league. They've been pretty good. I don't think the rest of their team has been great, but they've got some great linebackers at the very least. But yeah, I would say I think Seattle should have this. The Guardians did. Guardians played well last week. It was kind of their first game they played well in. So meanwhile, Seattle's on a 3-game win streak. Even with the turnovers from Danucci, they've been flying high. So both their losses have been close. Seattle is a good team. They're one to look out for. I sure hope they don't make the playoffs, but I'm worried about them. So,
absolutely.
But then here's another one. I was talking about Vipers haven't played St. Louis yet. Well, St. Louis is going to Vegas to play the Vipers this Saturday as well. Quarterback wise, it sounds like Brett Hundley is injured because I was wondering why Luis Perez was starting. But he played very well last week, 8 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He's starting to look a lot better lately because he had a rough start that did get him benched. AJ McCarron, you can see his stats, 4 interceptions and 4 fumbles, and he's starting to kind of be a little bit more careless with the ball, but he does have 11 passing touchdowns, which leads the league, or is at least tied with the league, which is a little low for 5 weeks in. But
let me say hi to Jess real quick. Hi, Jess. Thanks for coming in. And make sure you check Woopah also out at. I put your links out in the chat too. So
thank
you.
Excuse me, but the running backs I think are interesting to watch. Specifically, Brian Hill, 4 games played, 49 carries, 255 rush yards, excellent play. And also adding on 110 receiving yards. So he's almost averaging 100 yards per game total. He's an asset both running the ball and catching the ball. I think he's been very important. Hakeem Butler, 30 catches, 336 yards. He's becoming a serious threat in the offense. I put Rod Smith for the Vipers, mostly because the Vipers do not have a great rushing attack. 166 yards and 46 carries, so about like 3.5 yards per carry, and he's their number one guy. And he can catch, but he doesn't do it often. I think it'll be interesting. But you see Jeff Badgett, 5 touchdowns, 341 yards. He's been very good. He's an asset that Luis Perez is going to be able to use a lot. Overall,
I still like the name Bidet, though. I like calling it Bidet.
Yeah,
sounds fancier.
It's what I think of, but apparently it's not.
No.
But I think the key is the Battlehawks didn't get a turnover last week, but before it, they're second in the league with 11 turnovers. Last week they were number 1. They've been good at forcing turnovers, and Vegas is kind of middle of the pack, 3 interceptions and 4 fumbles overall, turnover-wise. So I think that's going to be a big deal. Can Vegas protect the ball? Because if the Battlehawks get a lot of turnovers, that can really help them in the end. But
absolutely.
I'm going to, of course, go with the Battlehawks here. I think this is an important game, especially being at Vegas. I think if the Battlehawks win this one, they're looking a lot better in the standings, having those division games won. But we'll see.
Yep.
I'd give them the edge, but Vegas is coming off a very good game. So,
will they continue? Is it something to roll over into something else? Do they get hot? So, absolutely.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, Battlehawks, their defense frustrates me, but they've got some good players. Vegas, their defense has been one of the worst in the league all year. They've got some names, but they're not producing. So I think that's a big thing that you don't see on this screen, at least. But next, boy, we've got a rematch of this thrilling matchup. We can go
2 weeks in a row. Wow,
2 weeks in a row. Arlington, obviously, we talked about.
Bad. It's bad when one team you just focus on all defensive players. It's like,
oh yeah,
wow. It's almost like just look at the pretty things here, and we're going to talk about the factors.
I got to talk. I want to talk about the good stuff, not the bad stuff in this case.
There you go. Rematch of the century, as Stunning says.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's a rough one. 12-10, the last matchup as we saw. And now Arlington's at home. So in theory, they should have the upper hand again. But I don't know if it's going to be much fun to watch. Arlington's moving up. I'll tell you that. Week 3, they had 10 points. 4, they had 11 points, and now week 5 they had 12 points. So we could see 13 whole points here. But
yeah,
it's a rough one. The key factor to both of these games, why I didn't put any player to watch at QB is for the Brahmas, last time they split between Reed Sinnett and Jack Cohn. Sinnett may be hurt. Jack Cohn has just looked bad. There's a reason they benched him last week. I think if Reed Sinnett is healthy, they're going to start Reed Sinnett. But are they going to commit to him, or are they going to switch back and forth? I don't know who's going to start. That's why I didn't put any QBs here, just because I thought, well, I don't know who to give. I don't want to put, look at Reed Sinnett's stats, and then he doesn't even play. And with the Renegades, Kyle Sloter took over in week 3. He's played the last 3 weeks, but in the last 2 weeks, he's had 5 turnovers and no touchdowns, 4 interceptions and 1 fumble. So it's just he's not playing well. Drew Plitt started the first 2 games, didn't play particularly well either, but he didn't turn over the ball this much, and it makes you wonder: are they going to give the ball back to him? Are they going to give it to a third option? Because so far, Drew Plitt and Kyle Sloter are not getting it done at all. It's not good. So I don't know who's going to start. And honestly, if they do start, I don't think either of them are good options. So
no, not at all.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. And yeah, Brahmas were supposed to come into this with a very good rushing game, but they had Jacques Patrick, who was like really good in the 2020 XFL. Hasn't been great. And they have Kalen Ballage, a name you probably know. He started to fall off a lot, even if he gets a ton of carries still. He's, I think, at about 3 yards per carry, maybe less on the year. He's not been efficient with the carries he's gotten. They've got a lot of people who get a lot of tackles. Like, they do have some good defensive players, and they have had low-scoring games, so their offense is struggling. But, yeah, Jack Corner got a crazy sack. He's been excellent. Tenny Adewusi, I keep seeing his name. I don't – there was no big plays that I noticed from him, but he keeps popping up as a guy who's getting a lot of tackles in the game. Jordan Williams leads the XFL in tackles. He's got 20 solo and 20 assists. So he's been pretty good. So they've got good defensive players. Can they get good offensive players is the question. Brahmas, I put Devion Smith here. I mean, I kind of put him here because I'm trying to find good things, but also Devion Smith, 68 carries, I think is pretty high in the league. Only 175 rushing yards on him, so less than 2 yards per carry on the season, but he's it's kind of the question of if the quarterback isn't getting it done, and there's no real wide receivers who are getting it done, someone's got to get it done. And De'Veon Smith is the guy they've leaned on. So you kind of just hope he gets it done in the end. He's not. It's not more of a. It's less of a positive in this game. It's just like, well, he's still the starter. If the offense is going to work, someone's going to get it. I have Sal Cannella. He really has been probably the biggest bright spot on this team. Former Packers tight end, but
Bucky Corn quoting you sort of. I want to talk about the good stuff, not the bad stuff. So moving on to the next game.
Maybe that's what I should have done.
Yeah, we got to cover a little bit at least. We got
Saul Cannella is kind of the star of this. He's been very good.
When you're done with this slide, let me know. Okay.
Yeah, but he's the tight end. He is the best tight end in the league and has the best resume. But it's kind of like, well, look, if you got these quarterbacks struggling so much, the checkdowns are about the best you're going to get. So having a good tight end is very important. He has been good. It's kind of no touchdowns yet this year, but he's pretty much always the most dependable target on this team. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, Bucky Corn's got a genuine question. What are sacks? Because as someone who doesn't understand the lingo, this is a very strange conversation. Okay, thank you. And that's why we like having people, and this is part of why I tell everybody, this is for everybody. Stop and we can teach you. We don't mind explaining and stuff like that. I think it's wonderful to try to get people to understand. Well, you hear us talking about tackles. Well, that's when the defender tackle obviously knocks somebody down to the ground that has possession of the football. That's a tackle. Well, sacks are tackles also. But what makes them unique, it's when the quarterback who has the ball and is eligible to throw the ball down forward is tackled behind the line of scrimmage. And he's not trying to run. Sometimes if they scramble and get out, they might call it a run instead of a sack. But anytime the quarterback generally is tackled behind the line of scrimmage with possession of the football, it's called a sack. And they track it so that like defensive ends, your pass rushers get paid more sacks. You know, it's better stats for them. But that's what really it is. So, but great question. Thank you. If you have any others, and Woopah, we got 10 people with us now.
Oh yeah, let's
go.
Oh
my goodness, I tell you, it's like we keep going and they keep coming. Well, welcome, folks. Make sure you follow us on Twitch or hit the like button and subscribe on the YouTube side. And as we just do a Bucky Corn, if you got football questions, go ahead and ask it. Let's talk. So
yeah, well, I don't want to subject 10 people to this crappy game anymore. So let's switch.
Okay, we'll move on. Yeah, let's go.
So this is this. I guess we said this last week with the Houston game, but this really should be the game of the week on a Monday because XFL games are weird. They got 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. Why? I don't know. It's confusing to me, but here they are, and we've got the undefeated DC Defenders and the formerly undefeated Houston Roughnecks. Key to the game I put is that, DC's on fire while the Roughnecks hit a wall. Their offense has been rolling all year except for last week suddenly. For, like I said, their first loss in franchise history, not just this year, but between this year and 2020. Meanwhile, DC's coming off of a huge win with that 200-plus yard performance from Abram Smith. What I will mention is their offense didn't look the best. So I don't know. It's just they broke off some big plays with Abram Smith. You can look at his stats, 84 rushes, 432 rushing yards, which definitely leads the league, and 4 touchdowns with only 1 fumble. Didn't put their quarterbacks on here just because Teamu, he's had some good games, but last week was not one of those. And 2 of the last 3 weeks, actually I'd say 4 of the 5 weeks he's played, he hasn't played that well besides rushing. And even 2 of the last 3 weeks, he hasn't been good rushing. So it's hard to say. But I did put Lucky Jackson, their wide receiver, on here. He's, not only 19 catches in 5 weeks isn't huge, but he's definitely their biggest target, 250 yards. He's their guy. You've got on the Houston end, you got Brandon Silvers. His completion percentage took a hit after last week, went from like 65 to 62%. But overall, you can see 11 touchdowns, tied for that league lead. 4 interceptions and 2 fumbles. We've shown the other quarterback stats. As far as a quarterback goes, that's pretty low in turnovers for here. So you'll take that. One of the 3 quarterbacks over 1,000 yards on the season. Max Borghi, I believe he missed a game. He missed 1 game, so this is also 4-game stats. But 155 rushing yards and 41 carries. Not the best numbers, but we talked about he's, some of that is not his fault. He's been working his butt off and just not getting much help from his offensive line. Right. And he, 15 catches on 19 targets, not the most yards, but when running backs catch the ball, that's usually those design screens or those short yardage plays. The fact that has 15 catches and has been trusted as much as he has is a pretty big positive. That he can help you in multiple ways. He's the kind of guy that you can start in the backfield and motion him out to the slot. As a valuable weapon there. And then the 2 cornerbacks both tied for the lead in interceptions. Ajin Harris, 4 interceptions plus a tackle for loss. Michael Joseph, 4 interceptions and 21 total tackles. So both of those guys are definitely guys who can make the quarterback pay, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do in this game. But I think this is definitely the game of the week.
So record-wise, it should be. There should be no doubt.
DC's played well for most of their games. Houston, in all 4 games before last week, has played well. So it's possible that, something happened. Maybe they've been beaten up on bad competition, but I feel like they should be good most of the time. I think that this is not going to end. I'll tell you, I'm picking Houston to win this game. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my part, but I think Houston.
I would, and I'll tell you, I'll take the running team at home. I'll take DC over Houston. Just, DC's been consistent on the ground, and if the limited turnovers, then it depends on how the game goes, who controls it, the passing team or the running team. And DC's not been beaten yet, and they seem to, even on weeks when they have horrendous numbers, still seem to be controlling the games. So hey, interesting. All right.
So that's all I've got there. Anything else you want to add?
Well, it's been an interesting 5 weeks so far. I mean, we've been going, I think, 3 or 4 weeks with our broadcast, but hey, it's funny, the league starts to take up shape, and it looks like the North Division is got some drama there with. Or I might have gotten them flipped around, but see, it was the North with St. Louis and Seattle. I mean, you got drama there for the second and final playoff spot. Whereas in the South, it looks like it's pretty well set. It's unless barring anything unforeseen or crazy happening. So, but that's all I got for this.
Yeah,
thank you as always.
I agree with you there. The North Division is going to be very interesting, which I kind of wish it wasn't, because I want us to win, but it's going to be tough. On the South Division, I think it's Roughnecks to lose. They played their first out-of-division game and kind of didn't do well, which is maybe a red flag, but they've beaten up on their division opponents soundly, so hard to see that stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, definitely true. Well, I think that with that, we wrap up this week. Would you like to have a little NCAA update?
It looks like there's going to be a big upset that's going to screw up both of us in Alabama going down to San Diego State.
That means we are 0 for 3 on our Final Four.
Well, I'm 0 for 2. You're 0 for 3.
I thought you were 0 for 3 too, but
no, I might be. Well,
if you took Alabama,
I took Alabama. I took Tennessee, but I took UConn. But I also took Houston, so that one is looking pretty rough. Miami's up by 17 with 10 minutes left. So we could, both be 0-3.
And we discounted San Diego State from the very beginning.
Right. We both picked them to lose in the first round. Yeah. I'm shocked. And they almost did lose in the first round too. It's not like we were way off. They've
goodbye to the SEC now. First the Big Ten, now the SEC. So should have put Vanderbilt in the tournament.
Yeah, should have put Vandy in.
Well, thank you again, Woopah, for another great week. Let me do this real quick. Let me, since we did talk a little bit of basketball, let me pop this little slide up here. The great Woopah Troopah on Monday night. We're going to be on both back on YouTube and Twitch talking about this weekend's results. We'll talk a little bit about this upset, talking about Tennessee getting beat. Who knows in the nightcaps tonight if Princeton will keep its Cinderella story going as a 15th seed. Who knows? But definitely come join us for that. Keep an eye on things over the weekend. There could be gaming streams. This has been kind of a planned, kind of a chilled weekend. But I can always go. Live at a moment's notice. Usually it'll be games when I do stuff like that. But one thing that I do want to say is that the best way to keep up to date with everything is like Jess just put out in the link there. Follow us on Twitter. And we'll do this real quick right here. And yes, you've got the link there. Follow us on Twitter at DadmanWalking55. Of course, we are DadmanWalking55 both on YouTube and Twitch. So we make it the same name everywhere so you can follow us pretty easily. Let me see. And I am going to, again, my friend Woopah, would you like to talk about yourself and what you're doing currently? And I'm going to put your link in the chat. Follow Woopah over here.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm not doing much right now, but I am hoping to put out a stream clip right now. I was doing some work on that lately since I haven't been able to stream much yet. I've been trying to just put out some old stream clips of stuff I did back in the day. Figured maybe some new people to the channel who hadn't seen that, or some old people from the channel who just forgot that happened. Just give them a little bit of something that hopefully they'll enjoy. So we'll see. I hope to get that out sometime, at least by next Friday, at least. We'll see.
Let's see. All right. Well, Woopah, thank you, folks. Like I said, just keep an eye on Twitter. We may go live at a moment's notice, depending on games. Sunday, I'm scheduled to be with Lorena Creole on her channel again at 8 o'clock, talking about the Disney Fast Pass system. I mentioned Monday Madness on Monday with Woopah at 7. Fortnite stream for Tuesday. And then next Wednesday, we got the detour with the Dadmans at Fort Pickens. So that's one you're not going to want to miss. It's got some interesting history. We'll talk of some battles and stuff like that and have some fun with some history there. So like we do all kinds of different things here. Follow us on the Twitch side if you haven't already. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. Last I saw where we were at 184 subscribers on the YouTube side. It was like quite exciting. It was like 150, then it just like boom. But we are at 185 tonight. Thank you to whoever subbed tonight. Only 15 more, and I get to drink that unicorn soda. So that is awesome. Well, folks, on that note, I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us and staying for so long. All the lurkers, thank you. Thank you for the questions about football. We appreciate it and all your support. Give me about 10 or 15 minutes. I very well may do some Fortnite tonight. I need to take care of a few gas stations. It's kind of one of those evenings. So if you're able to, join us over there shortly on YouTube for some more Fortnite. And I believe the missus will be joining me and, have some more fun. Jess has got some of the different things that my feet fervently emote. And where did they go? If you haven't checked those clips out, please do so. Definitely. Woopah, thank you again, sir. Great as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've always loved
Absolutely.
talking football and any sports,
Absolutely.
really.
I know. I agree. There's not many of us around, but thank you for you guys lurking to sports and asking questions. And that's what we're here for and enjoy it. Well, everybody have a great night, and we will hopefully see you in a few minutes over again on YouTube for some Fortnite. Bye, all.